different apps, free apps have come out now that aid in the collection of scientific information. So I put those on the website here. So all of these are different applications that you can download onto an iPad, onto a smartphone. You can use in the classroom on the computer. That first one, Sapelli, is really great because it allows for, you can create pictures. It doesn't have to be words, so it just goes through language barriers. It's incredible. I mean, you can create the format so that it's 3 different pictures or 3 different colors, and so the student can click on that, and that will save it as their data, rather than them having to actually, journal about it or take a measurement and put that in. So I found that was really neat. And then my favorite one is probably the one at the very bottom there, Google Science Journal. Google just came out with this, and they have, and it turns your smartphone into a scientific apparatus. I mean, you can do some really incredible things with it. I won't bore you with that, and you can journal on it. NGSS, incorporating that with it. So I have a couple of resources there. Some websites where you can figure out how to use phenomena as well, and then some additional research that's specific to that. Citizen science and sustainability, so these are a couple of articles that I have found have been really, really helpful in designing citizen science projects. If you want to identify, especially here in Nevada, the economic and environmental impacts of climate change in Nevada, I used that over and over when I was doing my watershed project. So that was incredibly helpful there. And then the very last bit, promise guys, is just some pictures of some projects that I've done with some of my students. So I'm a Project Recharge Master Teacher now, which is pretty exciting. My girls in the top left corner here, they actually won the middle school sustainability project through Project Recharge. I'm so proud of them. They created this insane plan to retrofit our school with LED lights. And it's based off of sound data that we took. They met with our site facilities coordinator in this picture right here. They got a lot of incredible information. We created a class wall of all of the data that we had collected, and they used that real-time data to come up with this plan, and they figured out that we were going to save our school over $4,000 a year if we just changed our light bulbs to these light bulbs that they found. So that was pretty incredible. And we actually, NV Energy actually ended up donating $7,000 to our school as a result of that project, and we will have our school retrofitted with these light bulbs next year, which is pretty exciting stuff. And then these are just some of my other projects that my students have done. So the watershed health projects. And then I'm just going to skip through these and show you the one at the bottom. The most recent project that we've done has been with the Desert Research Institute. Anyone who's familiar with the Tahoe Citizen Science app that they have, they just added stories in the snow to that. And so there are just some pictures of my students down here. DRI was actually able, they have these $15 kits, and so I was able to check those out from them and my students. Every time it snows, we go outside, they have these cards, they are able to collect freshly fallen snowflakes. They have micro lenses that they put on their cell phones, and we go outside and they zoom in on it. They figured out how to actually take pictures of the snow crystals, and it updates that information in real time to the Desert Research Institute. So we have schools up here in Tahoe and down in Reno and all over the place that are now collaborating in this project. So that is the application that has been going on with it. And that's pretty much all I've got for you. So. Now I can breathe.
Thank you so much, Taryn.
Thank you.
It's been very exciting to see where our students have taken some of their projects. Taryn, I don't know if you mentioned it, is it O'Brien STEM, is it Middle School Academy or just
O'Brien STEM Academy.
O'Brien STEM Academy, but she works with middle school students. I'm impressed for all of you. I like the littler ones myself, personally. But thank you very much. And I wanted to mention also that, thank you, Matt, how very thoughtful research. the gentleman, must be those old school manners that you learn, right? Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I did want to mention that Taryn's project director is Shalise Crookshanks, and also we forgot to mention that Megan D., as she was leaving the podium, her project director was our friend Laureen, what did I say? Lauren is my daughter-in-law. Laureen Andrews. Laureen, thank you so much. Jonathan, I hope you weren't too offended by Taryn's reference to the law field, etc., or Jonathan is our resident attorney in charge. So, thank you very much.
These kids are going to save the world.
Yes! Woohoo! Aren't they impressive? They truly are. And this is, as we said, this is the highlight, the showcase of our students at this point in time. And they were chosen because when they presented, which is a very difficult thing to do, as you well know, in front of their instructors, a panel of distinguished judges, and also their peers, they were our highest scorers. And that is basically how they were chosen to present their projects being very, very impressive, but in that, in themselves, they are also very, very impressive young individuals with quite a future in front of them. And thank you, Jonathan. I believe that. I truly do. We are very proud of the students that come out of Sierra Nevada College and our Department of Teacher Education. We really feel honored that they return and become adjunct faculty for us. That's very, very important, and they continue to pay it forward, shall we say. Our next candidate and our final, thank you so much. I think you will really enjoy hearing from Diane Macon. Her project director also was Shalise Crookshanks. And there's Shalise, yay, heading for the food.
Just water.
Okay, just water. All righty. So glad. Thank you so much. Shalise comes to us from Carson Valley Middle School, as we said, and she happens to have two students this evening who are presenting, Taryn Kirk and Diane Macon, both science projects, because Shalise has kind of a fondness for science herself. Am I correct? Most definitely. Thank you. Diane, with that said, Diane, would you like to introduce your support team also?
Yes, I will. So tonight I have my husband John here and also my mother Jane. Hi, good evening, distinguished panel, faculty, staff, and audience. My name is Diane Macon, and I'm honored to have been selected as a participant in the 2018 Graduate Symposium. In high school, my favorite subjects were science and music. I quickly decided, though, that music likely would not make a viable career, so I decided instead to pursue a science degree. While attending Northeast Missouri State University, which happened to be the location of the regional crime laboratory, I was introduced to the field of forensic science and quickly identified my first career. I later moved to California, where I completed my undergraduate degree at the University of California, Berkeley, while working as an intern for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Forensic Laboratory located on Treasure Island. When I completed my undergraduate degree in chemistry, my Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry, I became a forensic scientist for the Oakland Police Department Crime Laboratory. And then after that, I later moved to Reno, Nevada, and I also worked there as a forensic scientist for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division. And during my forensic science career, I was routinely tasked with teaching a multitude of people about forensic science. So I decided to pursue a teaching degree that would launch my second career upon retiring from the field of forensics. I currently teach for two different schools. I work for St. Albert the Great Catholic School, where I teach 6th grade religion and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade intervention. I also assist all of the middle school teachers with a variety of tasks. For example, this year, I've been tasked with pushing into 7th grade math to provide additional instruction and support. I will also follow that cohort of students to 8th grade next year as well for the same job. I also work for Rise Academy for Adult Achievement, which is part of the Washoe County School District, where I teach math and science. Students who have aged out of K through 12 schools come to Rise Academy to earn an adult high school diploma or a high school equivalency. Rise Academy offers 2 forensic science classes that students can complete as part of the science credit requirements to obtain that high school diploma. I was asked not only to teach the 2 forensic science classes at Rise, but also to develop curricula and activities that could be used in these 2 classes. I actually worked as a long-term substitute while completing my secondary internship at Bishop Manogue Catholic High School under the direction of Mr. Lauletta back there. And at Bishop Manogue Catholic High School, students are required to complete chemistry to graduate. It's not an option. They have to complete chemistry. So one of my long-term substitute positions was teaching the traditional chemistry classes. And in these classes, the students would often state that the classes were an absolute waste of time because the students found no connection to their current lives or their future plans. And unfortunately, many of these students had minimal engagement and often low performance in these courses. During my forensic science career, I directly observed the intrigue that forensic science evokes in people of all ages. And this fascination is evident through the continued portrayal of the field in popular media, such as numerous television shows and books. So I decided to combine my 2 areas of expertise, forensic science and teaching, to create a framework of forensic science activities as my professional project, which is titled Seeing Science and Literacy Through a Different Lens, a framework of forensic science activities for 12th grade science educators. So I wanted to achieve 2 different goals with my professional project. First, I wanted to create a framework of forensic science activities for 12th grade science educators that was based first on educational research and on authentic forensic science practices. A secondary goal for my project was to cultivate and enrich student engagement, interest, and perception of science and literacy through the practical application of science. My project was driven by and is aligned with multiple professional and content standards. First, because my project focuses on science instruction, I chose professional standards from the National Science Teachers Association. I specifically chose Standard 1, Content Knowledge, and Standard 3, Learning Environments, because these standards address engaging all students using a contemporary science. I next applied the Interstate Teacher Assessment and Support Consortium, or INTAS standards, and here I specifically chose Standard 5, Application of Content, because it states that instruction should be connected to authentic issues. Most educators are familiar with the Next Generation Science Standards and the Common Core State Standards. My project is also aligned with multiple standards from these national compilations that have been adopted by most states. And then additionally, my project is aligned with actual forensic science standards from the Nevada Career and Technical Education Standards. I now would just like to review some of the research that actually drove my project or is the foundation of my project. So National Assessment of Educational Progress data in 2015 revealed that science achievement of students in the United States had not significantly increased in 6 years. In fact, this data showed little to no progress in science achievement since 2005. Educational research has documented that students lack interest in science because they find no relevance in the subject. Additionally, National Assessment of Educational Progress data in 2011 revealed that approximately only 1/3 of 4th and 8th grade students were proficient or above proficient in reading. And educational research has also called for the integration of science and literacy. So more specifically in 2007, Schroeder, Scott, Tolson, Hoang, and Lee noted that science achievement of students in the United States had not improved in 10 years. The researchers performed a meta-analysis of extant educational research to determine the most effective research-based strategies for science instruction. The researchers opined that relevant learning experiences had the greatest impact on student achievement and suggested using real-world problems and examples in instruction. Additionally, educational researchers such as Guzzetti and Bang have called for the integration of science and literacy. And again, educational research has repeatedly documented that students lack engagement and interest in science, especially at the secondary level. Duncan and Daly Engel in their research specifically attributed this lack of engagement and interest to the dearth of connection between traditional science instruction and real life. Several educational researchers have investigated the impact of using science, forensic science rather, as an instructional context in science classes, and they determined that student engagement, interest, and achievement were all positively impacted. Recent research that has been published since the completion of my professional project actually evaluated the use of case-based scenarios in a forensic context to teach science. In this particular study, Cresswell and Laughlin noted two things: that forensic science integrates multiple science disciplines, and that these case-based scenarios offer alternative learning as well as assessment options. The researchers documented significant improvement in student engagement and performance with the implemented curriculum. So I'm now going to highlight some of the salient points of my professional project. For the people up here, if you turn to the yellow tab, that will help you. I created 13 different activities in my professional project, and the activities last anywhere from 1 to 6 hours. The activities that span more than an hour in length can be easily spread across multiple class periods. The project starts out with several activities that first build crucial foundational knowledge in the field of forensic science, and then it moves to activities that build more of what we'll call discipline-specific knowledge in the area of forensic science, which would be disciplines like biological evidence, firearms and tool marks, controlled substances, toxicology. That would be discipline-specific types of knowledge that students gain in the latter part of the activities. Each one of my activities is comprised of one or more literacy components, and these literacy components draw on a variety of sources, including texts from newspaper articles, magazine articles, texts from actual professional forensic science organizations, and then laboratory procedures from actual forensic science laboratories, and numerous videos. Each one of my activities incorporates one or more connections to real life, and these connections are made in a variety of ways. For example, we actually study cases solved using forensic science. We use materials again from professional forensic science organizations, and students participate in hands-on activities. All of my activities are comprised of multiple exercises that can be easily implemented as student-centered collaborative learning opportunities. One of the highlights of several of my activities is they demonstrate how everyday items can be used as forensic evidence. Three of the things that we specifically look at is the use of glitter as forensic evidence, the use of duct tape as forensic evidence, and the use of plastic bags, including your just general Ziploc plastic bags, as forensic evidence. My project was created for 12th grade, but all of my activities can be easily adapted to any secondary grade level, and they also can be integrated into existing science curriculum. My project requires very minimal materials. Most of what you see in my project or on my thumb drive is everything that you will need, with the exception of a few outside materials that can be purchased at a very minimal cost. And really the pinnacle of my project is that it connects real life to science, and it demonstrates a practical applicability of science. So in my project, one of the activities that I have, which is at the red tab for the people who are up here at the table, is Activity 7, and this is an activity on one of the primary tenets of forensic science, which is known as Locard's exchange principle. And in this activity, students investigate this principle in a number of ways. Locard's exchange principle basically is when two items come into contact, each one of those items is going to leave something of itself behind with the other. We learn about Edmund Locard and one of the cases that he solved way back in the 1800s that involved trace amounts of ladies' makeup being left behind under the fingernails of Marie Littell's killer. We then actually use materials in the classroom. The students don't know we're using them until the end, but I use glitter and ultraviolet body paint to also, again, demonstrate this concept of exchange. We talk about the different types of exchange, primary level, secondary level, tertiary level. And the UV body plate really helps students understand that not all forensic evidence is easily seen with the naked eye, and that you may need special tools like an ultraviolet light to be able to visualize that forensic evidence. I'd now like just to close with how I have used my project since I created it last year. Again, I work at Rise Academy, where I teach 2 forensic science classes. I have integrated many of the components of my project into these 2 classes, and I continue to build and refine my curriculum maps for these classes based on my research that I conducted for my professional project, as well as my expertise from my numerous years of working in the field of forensics. I continue to try to find ways to connect science to real life. For example, at the end of each of my Rise Forensic Science classes, we study an actual case that was solved using forensic science from Reno, Nevada, and these cases have been documented on a national television program. So at the end of Forensic Science Class 1, we study the case of David Middleton, who killed Kathy Powell and Thelma DeVia. This particular cases and circumstances have been chronicled on the national documentary program, New Detectives, and we actually watch that program and see the real life people from Reno, Nevada, who I've worked with, that are talking about how this crime was solved. At the end of the second forensic science class, we study the succinylcholine-induced death of Nevada State Controller Kathy Augustine, which was recounted on the national documentary program, Dateline. And this was a case that I actually worked on when I was in the crime laboratory. And succinylcholine is a drug that is often used in surgical procedures, especially emergency surgical procedures, to relax the muscles. And for example, it's commonly used in intubation. This is the drug that was used to bring about the death of Kathy Augustine. And for me, bringing some case that is actually from where you live and seeing it presented on a national documentary program that you can sit in there and watch, and they show the big Reno Arch and they talk about in Reno, Nevada, it really brings the connection of science to real life to a new realm for me and for my students who happen to be at-risk students at my adult school. Things that I want to continue to do with my project is I want to look at maybe implementing, and actually in my Rise classes, implementing some more case-based scenarios, which include some more alternative assessment formats as well. So one of the couple things that are really unique about forensic science is we get to talk about things like bias and ethics. You will find those integrated into my project, and I've also incorporated into my classes at Rise. And forensic science is very unique in that you can take these concepts which may seem to only apply to forensic science, but in reality, they can be generalized out to almost every area of life. So ethics and bias don't just apply to forensic science, they don't just apply to science, they can apply anywhere. When you're reading articles about any current event, you can look at the ethics or the bias that are in those types of texts that you are reading. Another thing is that my project had a significant literacy component and incorporated many literacy tools. I use many of these tools in my forensic science classes at Rise, but I also incorporate them into other classes, including my 6th grade religion class, because we read texts in there, and we read nonfiction texts in my religion class at St. Albert. So that concludes my presentation. I would like to thank you for your time, and again, I'm honored to have been selected to be part of this 2018 Symposium.
Okay, are you all ready to get out and play in the dirt, right? With that said, and read about playing in the dirt. Also, outdoors, right, Megan? But thank you so much. We have one last, if I may impose upon you, one last very special honor that we would like to make tonight. Beth, would you please come up?
Yes.
And I want to mention that also, that Allison, you might have felt a little relieved being on the other side of the table.
Oh, I could empathize.
Absolutely, this is not an easy thing. Allison was I don't know if I mentioned it, but our 2000, among her many talents and accomplishments, she was our 2016 Graduate Symposium, and hence we have included her tonight in this distinguished panel of judges. So nice to be on the other side, right? Most definitely. With that said, Beth, would you please continue and close our evening?
All right, well, I know the judges are going to need time to go.
Oh, yes, exactly, in just a moment.
So when I finish, they'll leave for a few minutes, and it'll be a quick, hopefully, come back and we'll make the awards. First of all, oh my gosh, how outstanding were these presentations? Control the budget, every project director, Cheryl, every faculty member, staff member, we could give raises to everybody. I'm telling you, I'm so impressed, and just want to thank you because your expertise and your dedication to education, especially, showing how you continue to search and research and refine and revise. It's really inspiring to me, and I'm sure to everyone here, so thank you. I just want to thank you for that. We are so honored because one of our former students from 2016 finished her degree, and that student went on, and although she's already a successful teacher, to become Nevada's Teacher of the Year. And she'll be going to Washington, D.C. to represent our state in that competition. So in honor of her, we're starting an award. And the award is actually for her classroom. And it is a stool, and as Cheryl told me, and I agree, and I think this came from Jim Watson,
It did.
that we would like to place our student, teacher, alumna, in this case, should be put on a pedestal. And so, this is for you. And we'll be awarding one of these every year to the most outstanding educators. And I'd like to thank Dr. Varner for actually painting this.
Oh, good job.
But you must know that Dr. Varner and even the art department was a bit intimidated because Pilar is an art teacher. So nobody wanted to do the stool.
We're so proud.
Honor.
We're so proud of you.
Oh, that's cool. Can you get a picture of this? This is so great.
Pilar, tell us about your responsibilities now representing Nevada.
I know. You know, when they tell you you get this award as the Nevada State Teacher of the Year, it's really more of a position. It is the CCSSO, which is the the Council of Chief State
School officers.
Officers. I had it twice today. I did really well earlier. But anyway, it's a national organization of superintendents from every state, and they are the organizers of the National Teacher of the Year program. And once you are awarded, it becomes your year of service. And so you go through a series of professional development opportunities where you are empowered to use your voice, to speak with legislators, to find your cause, and then continue to promote that for the rest of your life. And so this is my year of service. I was at Google last month for my first program induction. It was wonderful. We were able to connect with the other state teachers of the year and the Columbia, and then also any of the territories. So we came together, we were able to network, and we are in contact all the time on our Facebook page, like talking about the things that we're doing and getting help from each other and asking for resources. And so it's been a really powerful connection. And then in the state of Nevada, it's actually a very small role. In many other states, the Teacher of the Year is given a sabbatical, and then they are tasked with speaking and meeting at schools and doing a lot of that. So I've been doing this much because I am working full-time in the classroom, but I have a few speaking engagements, and we plan on growing that over the summer into next spring, and then continuing on through the following years, finding that path. And so I encourage you to nominate teachers like we have here tonight for the award. It is a very, very powerful experience that will impact your career, and I encourage you to continue. You can self-nominate. I didn't even know it was a thing until I received my nomination and found out that I was actually nominated by my student.
Oh.
So that was quite a shock, and I was really grateful for the opportunities that I had. And so Washington, D.C. is next, and then we'll meet the President and the Secretary of Education while we're there. And I'm curious to find out how all of that will be organized. And we haven't found out our schedule yet, because apparently it is due to the schedule of the President. So we're leaving maybe in a month, but we don't know yet. When we find out. But thank you. I'm really honored. This is probably starting next year. We'll talk. Thank you.
Hello, I look forward to that.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
so
And thank you to Dr. Varner for his
Yes,
artistic abilities, which was a bit intimidated doing something for an art teacher, correct? Most definitely. I'd like to excuse our distinguished judges now to take a couple of moments. As you know, they are only going to determine, as you notice on your program tonight, they are only going to determine who will be awarded which award. They are already receiving a cash prize, and in our opinion, they are already winners. Stellar, impressive winners. So while they are taking a few moments to make that decision, we'll excuse them. Please enjoy more of the food, and we'll come back in just about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and we'll conclude our evening's presentations. Thank you so much. All right.